switch,
Screen share.
screen share take over.
Alrighty, so for today's webinar, I'm going to primarily focus on the web-based browser of Kurzweil. So Kurzweil does have a software that you can download onto your desktop or your laptop, it primarily does the same things that the web-based browser does. It does do some templates for like graphic organizers and things like that. So if someone wants to get more information about that, we can totally go over that on a one-to-one basis. I will show you in here how to download the software to go on your desktop. But like I said, I'm going to primarily focus on the web-based browser. I find that it has a lot of nice usability. And if anybody on this webinar is using a Mac software looks very different on the desktop than it does in the web browser. So for consistency's sake, I really like just sharing the web-based browser. So before I get started in this, I will show you how to download the software if you want to download the software. The nice thing about the software that you can have on your computer itself is that it doesn't necessarily need internet. So if you've already looked at books on that with the internet, they will be on there when you don't have internet. So the help tab over here that I have that has the yellow rectangle around it right now, this is a really great resource to use when folks need any sort of assistance for their Kurzweil. Kurzweil Academy is something that has like very quick 30-second videos if you have very brief questions that need to be answered. And you know, if for some reason like Katie or I are not available, that's a great resource. But to download the desktop version of Kurzweil, you're going to go down here to the Kurzweil 3000 lab or web license installation, and you're going to choose which software you have. So since I have a Windows, I would click on Windows. And it's going to have a lot of table of content stuff in it. But if you go down, you will see there's a link, and you can click on this link. And it will open up, and it gives you a bunch of different options of what kind of Kurzweil license you are trying to download. And since we have the web-based version, you're going to click the top one, which is the version 20 subscription and web license. And that's the only thing that you'll need to do. It'll start downloading. And once it downloads, you can log into it with the same like username and password that you would for the web-based browser. All right, so I'm going to go back here. Oops, I got to get out of, I need to hide my panels. All right, so anything that you have in your Kurzweil account or that you request from us to be put into your Kurzweil account is going to be over here. So right now, this is my personal Kurzweil account. This would have your name as a student. If you click on this, there will be 3 different tabs once it's done loading. There's 3 different tabs. There's the private, public, and recently opened local files. So I always like to tell folks that you do have a private folder, but anybody that's an administrator can see into that folder. So although it says it's private, it's not actually that private because we have access to it. Some folks like to organize their textbooks differently, so they have them just in the private file because it's easier for them to find certain things instead of having them just all in the public folder. So if you look in here, all of these are things that I have uploaded into my Kurzweil account. If you have requested a book for us, this is also where that's going to be. So I'm going to go into a file and show you some of the basic tools in there. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to upload your own file. So like if you have a brief PDF that your professor put in like Blackboard or in your Google Classroom and you want Kurzweil to read it to, you have that option to upload files that you have downloaded yourself and put in Kurzweil. So let me open up this. And a lot of folks, if you have if you did an intake with me, you've probably seen some of these features because I like to show a brief look at what Kurzweil is while I'm doing my intakes. So once that loads, I'm going to get into some of the more detailed versions of what we've probably talked about already. You will notice too, since I have a million tabs open, Kurzweil sometimes is a little bit slow. And so we're just gonna sit here and wait for that to load for a second. Another thing I like to do and tell folks too is over here where it says a nonfiction book bag, there are non-copyrighted samples of things over there. So if you want to practice on some of these features and you don't have books that you necessarily need to be uploaded in Kurzweil yet, but you want to get some practice, that's a really good place to go. So right now I am in the middle of this text, so I'm going to go back to the first page. So if you can see over here in this left-hand corner that has the page numbers, so I'm on page 26 out of 57 right now. You can go back and forth with these arrows on the far sides over here, but you can also toggle through the pages with this searched bar down here below. So if I go to the first page and I put in page 1 and I hit go, it will bring me back to the very beginning of this text. Something that I also like to preface to folks is depending on how the publisher has uploaded their alternate format, sometimes the page numbers of the text itself won't actually be accurate to this. So if you have page numbers up in the corners of your pages, pay attention to what those are, because depending on how you're trying to toggle through, you might have to do some variations on what the actual page numbers are versus the page numbers that the alternate format is picking up. So I'm going to go into this a little bit more so I can show you some of the features. A quick thing that I want to show you, so you can, some of the basic stuff, you can change the voice of the person reading to you. So they do have stuff in US English accents or American accents, and then they do have things like in, I think this actually speaks in Spanish, but they have a handful of different voices you can pick. So I'm gonna put it on Will because like Will's my go-to guy when I'm doing my my readings. You can change the unit that the AI is reading, and then you can also self-pace it. You can make it be continuous, so it's just going to continue to read as long as you don't have it on pause, or you can have it word by word, or you can click this stop by reading at the end of each page, and it will obviously it'll stop at the end, and so then you'd have to like actually physically move through each page. You can change the speed of the reading. So if you wanted it to go faster, you can make it go fast. You can make it even slower than the typical speed it would go at if you need it to be a little bit slower. And the other thing that I like to show folks too, so right now it's a black and white background. You can change the color background. So if the white is too harsh, you can change it to like a slate color or any of the other colors that were below in here. So like this is a little bit, might be a little bit nicer for some folks. This might be too dark for other people. So you can change it depending on your preference. So I typically keep it white. And they also do have a dark mode. So if you wanted it to be dark all along the edges to kind of give either this more of an accentuation or less of an accentuation depending on the color contrast that you have selected, you can do that as well. So those are some of the basic just usability features of it. Above here you can have the start and stop button. That's what causes it to play or stop playing the audio. You can also, so that's just going to read from the very top. So if there's any sort of like formatting differences, like for some folks, like if they had things like up here in the top, like if it was like if it always had the chapter at the beginning of each thing, like it will read that, so you can select where this starts reading. So if you didn't want it to read acknowledgments, you could click down here, and where that like red tab is, that's where it's going to start reading now, and it won't read that top acknowledgement section. Some of the other features that I like to tell folks about is the highlighting tool. This is a really great feature because they have a handful of highlighters. So like as you can see here, I've already highlighted report, authors, and support. So I'm going to take the purple highlight or the pink highlighter, and I'm going to highlight a couple different other things. So I'm going to highlight this whole section here, and then I'm going to highlight this section down here. So what this does is it helps you differentiate the two different types of highlights. So if you wanted to do just like important words that you needed to put in like a glossary or define later, you can do those in yellow, and you could do like important information in purple, or I keep calling it purple. The computer is telling me it's pink. I think the computer is lying to me. That looks very purple to me. But you can go through and you can have just, you know, a whole handful of different types of highlighters. If you make a mistake and you need to get rid of some highlight, you can erase it pretty easily. I will say that sometimes in things that have or texts that have two columns, sometimes the highlighting does get a little wonky. So you have to be very careful with that. And then anytime you're using one of these tools, you have to go back to and click the cursor button, or else it's going to continue to stay an eraser or stay a highlighter or whatever. One of the great features about Kurzweil that I really like is that you can extract all of your highlights and notes into a consistent page. So before I show you what that looks like, I'm going to show you the notes section. So you can make things like sticky notes. And again, you can change the type of font. You can change the background color of these. So give me a second, I'm gonna pull that up. So if I wanted a sticky note here, I could change it. I want it to be an 18-point font, and I want it to be an open dyslexic font so I can read it a little bit easier. So I put that here, and I have my sticky note. And my sticky note is very small because I have messed with it and played with it far too much. So I'm going to make this bigger. And then I can type in here, you know, whatever I want. And like I said, you can make this bigger or smaller. It just depends on what your preference is when you're reading. And you can delete them by doing this. You know, I have my little delete toggle. And if you want to keep that, note, but you're like, it's in the middle of my text, it's going to be hard for me to read, you can also hide your notes or make them visible. So if I put this away, all my notes are gone. If I click the little eyeball again, they're all there. All right. So now that I've shown you the notes section, I'm going to extract the highlights and notes. And so this is asking if it wants me to extract all of my notes and highlights, or if I want to do something a little bit more advanced. So if you hit the advanced button, you can select which notes and which highlights you want. So if I only wanted my vocab words, I could unselect all of these and only select the yellow highlights. And that's going to give me a different output than if I said, okay, I want the yellow highlights and the pink highlights, or I just want my sticky notes. And since this does take a long time to extract all of it, I'm not going to extract it right now because I'm going to show you one more thing, and then I can extract it because then we can move on to showing you something else after that. But this is a really great feature that I think a lot of folks enjoy from Kurzweil. So the other thing that you can do is, if you didn't want to do notes in this sort of format, like the sticky note format, you can also create column notes. So you can do that, like if you wanted to get main ideas, supporting ideas, and then like additional ideas, you can also change what these say. So if you want to do main ideas, supporting ideas, and supporting ideas too, you can do that, and you can put all of your main ideas in here, and you can save this, you can throw it away, you can add it to something else. So if I wanted to save this, you know, like I can do that. I can go, okay, I'm going to save that. And it's going to ask me where I want to save that. So if I wanted to put this in my private folder, so I wanted to keep all my notes in there, I could do that. And then it's going to pull up my column notes once it loads. Uh-oh, technical difficulties. Sorry, guys. Aha. So since I obviously didn't put in a full column ideas, like this is what it would look like if you were extracting it into a separate file. And you can also use the reading functions on this as well. You can save this as a document. You can upload this to your Google Drive if you wanted to. You could get this printed out. You can also change the background. So all the similar functions that you had in your document, you can have that in your notes, and you can edit these as well if you wanted to add more to it after you've created it into a format that you're comfortable with. So I am not going to save this, so I'm just going to go back to my library. So that's the one thing that is like kind of frustrating about this is once you extract something from your reading document, you have to go back into your universal library to then get back to your book. So that's why I was trying to show you the extracting part afterwards, because I knew it was going to take some time and it was going to get us in and out. But I do want to show you how to extract your notes and highlights, because I think that that is a really useful tool for a lot of folks. So if I click this and extract all my notes and highlights, and I'm going to just do all of them, which will take some time because this is an actual document that I have read and made notes on. But the thing that I want to show you all about this is that it will tell you where your sticky notes and where your highlights are. So like obviously I've used this for trials a lot, so that's why some of these sticky notes make no sense and some of them do make sense. So like here are the sticky notes. It has the yellow highlights. It specifies the other different colored highlights, and it tells you all the pages that it's on. So you really get a good idea of what information you were looking at and where that was. So like if you read and had all your highlights in your notes in this, but you didn't want to bring like your whole laptop to class, or you were like, you didn't want to try to toggle through all of your notes on this when you were in class, you can save this or print it out and bring that to class with you, or just have this in front of you so you have all your notes, but you don't have to do the like the cumbersome looking through, waiting for the pages of Kurzweil to load in class in real time. So I think that this is a really neat feature. So those are the basic tools that most folks will use when they are interacting within alternate text in Kurzweil. So the other thing that I wanted to show you in Kurzweil that's really important is that ability to upload your own like PDFs or documents. Another way that folks will also use this, if you know that you have an essay that you need to proofread or you need to go over, sometimes students will upload their own essays into here and have Kurzweil read them, which is another really great feature because you're hearing it through, you know, someone else's voice, and sometimes that can help give you a better idea of what you need to add or edit. So that's just something else that I wanted to note too, is, you know, like you can use this for things other than readings when you're uploading things. So as you can see here, you can upload things from your Google Drive or your Bookshare account. I'm going to upload something from my computer. So anything that you wanted to upload, you're just going to either click computer or you can click upload. I'm going to click computer. And I'm going to go to my desktop, and I have a test I'm going to pull up. And that's how you do it. So you're literally just going into wherever you want that, wherever you're trying to find that document, click on it and hit upload, and it'll tell you how much it's uploading and when. A lot of times it'll get stuck on the 99%. Don't let that discourage you. Sometimes it's up there, and it'll be up there for a couple seconds before it tells you it's good. See, and it tells me my open failed, so I might have uploaded too big of a document. So what I'm going to do, and I'm actually glad this happened, because sometimes what'll happen is it's uploaded, but excuse me, but it won't automatically open, which Kurzweil tries to do a lot. So what I'm going to do is check to see if it has been uploaded. So I'm going to look in here, and all of these are alphabetical order. So since I know it started with test because I was using it as my tester, I'm going to go down here. Okay, so it's not in here. So sometimes if you've recently uploaded something and it has failed, it might be in your recently opened local files. So I'm going to go to that and see if it's in there, and if not, I'm just going to have to try to upload it again. So that is something that happens occasionally with Kurzweil, is that because documents are so big and it tries to automatically open it no matter what you do, it takes a couple tries for it to get uploaded. Especially right now, since there's a lot of folks that are using Kurzweil and getting their alternate formats uploaded and stuff. Sometimes it has a little bit more lag time than I would like. All right. Okay, so as you can see, since it is in alphabetical order, it also will it'll have anything that's in numerics first. So if that's going to confuse you, I'm going to show you how to fix that in a second. Okay, so I'm going to try to upload that again, see if it works. If not, I'm going to move on, but at least now you know how to upload it. So computer, find where you want to go. So I needed to go to desktop to find what I wanted to do. So I'm going to click on that. Yay! Okay, so then it's uploaded like any other text that you would have if you requested it through our office. So if you were confused, so like some books that we upload will literally only be the ISBN number, which I don't know about you guys, but I will not automatically memorize all the ISBN numbers of all the books that I have. So if you want to change them, or you want to navigate them easier and you're not going to remember the title of the book, but you know that this is like your intro to politics book, you can take this and you can rename it. So if I wanted to rename this, like, actually, the other thing, Kurzweil doesn't like spaces, so anytime you need to do a space, you also have to do underscores or dashes or whatever works for you. I'm spelling politics wrong. Okay, so, and then it's going to change it to that, and then eventually it'll get put into the alphabetical order that it needs to be. Okay, so we've talked about the main features inside of Kurzweil. We've talked about how to upload with Kurzweil. There is one more thing that I want to show you, and then I want to again reiterate some things that Katie and I talked about in our previous webinar earlier this week. But first, so the other thing that is a feature of Kurzweil is Kurzweil has a Google Chrome extension. So if you had like a website that you needed to read and it wasn't just like a downloadable PDF or whatever, and you needed to read like an article or whatever it is, Kurzweil has the ability to read the web. So if you wanted to get that, you would go to the Chrome store. And if you type into the Chrome Store search bar and you go to Kurzweil 3000, which is our software, oops. I already have it downloaded, but it's the Read the Web and you can automatically download it. And once you do, it will have this feature right here. So it's on, I'm on a page that it can't read. So let me get out of here and try to get it to read, like say this. So if I click on that, it's going to bring up my username and password, and I'm going to put that in. And it's, again, very similar features to what it has in the web-based browser that we were just looking at, but it's a little bit more detailed. So, and it did just add a new feature, so I might have some difficulty. So it does read PDFs now, which it didn't before. So if I click on this, I think it's going to just bring me to Kurzweil to upload into it. Okay, yeah. So if you have a PDF online, originally the browser extension wouldn't read PDFs. You would have to download it and manually upload it into Kurzweil yourself, which got very cumbersome. So they've added a new feature. So if you are on the web and you need to read a PDF, you just click that PDF button that I clicked before, and it'll upload it automatically into your Kurzweil account. So let me try to get something. I'm trying to think of something that I can go to and have it read to me. So let's go to our website, our SMCM ADA website. Okay, so I'm gonna have it read. And so as you can see, like I just have to click where I want it to start reading and it will read it. Since I know that the audio has not been great when I have tried to screen share and do Kurzweil, I'm not going to have it read. But like I said, just toggle where you want it to start reading and it will hopefully go over there. The toggling in the Chrome extension has been a little bit more cumbersome, I've noticed, when I've been trying to get it to read things. So, have it start there. Again, you can change the audio on it. You can change the pacing of it. You can do all of that sort of thing. And then the other feature that I didn't actually show you in the web browser that this also, the Chrome extension does have, is it does have a dictionary function. So I always like to preface to folks, like if you're reading like an intro to biology or you're reading like a higher level like psychology textbook, like I don't think that this is going to have the definitions that you need, but if you're looking for a definition that would be in like a typical dictionary, it does have that feature, and you can also change what kind of dictionary it's getting read from. So like if you wanted to see what it looked like in a picture dictionary, it has that. It has a thesaurus. Sometimes I just like looking to see what the pictures are, if it has pictures, because a lot of times if you look at the children's dictionary, it has like pictures instead of words. Excuse me. So that is the basics of web browser and Kurzweil itself. The other thing, again, that I want to preface that Katie and I talked about in our last webinar is that if you are planning to use Kurzweil during any of your quizzes or exams, there are certain software platforms that folks are using during the remote period that are not compatible with Kurzweil. So the softwares that are not compatible with Kurzweil are Blackboard, and the Lockdown browser Respondus is not accessible or not compatible with Kurzweil. So if you're planning to use Kurzweil during your exams, like so, excuse me, for example, if you were looking to have Kurzweil read exam questions to you, or quiz questions, please let us know so we can reach out to professors about an alternate mode of testing, because we want to make sure that it's an equitable and equal experience to your your counterparts in your class. So if you think that that might be a problem, or you're unsure how your testing is going to go in your class, find out from your professors, so then we can start that conversation as soon as we can with your instructor. But other than that, I think I've covered all of the basics of Kurzweil. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. And if we need to, if there's been other questions, I can go ahead and answer them. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything, Katie, that you know of?
You did not miss anything that I know of, but there are a couple of just fine details that I think folks might find to be helpful as they get started with Kurzweil for our new users. So how do they know when they've gotten their Kurzweil account? What happens?
So Kurzweil accounts, I sent folks earlier this week a email that had a self-registration account. So thank you for reminding me of that. So you should have gotten an email from me with 2 different links and I think it might have been with the webinar, and I can double check after this, but a link to register yourself with your Kurzweil account. And so once you have your username and password that you set up yourself, you will be good to go on Kurzweil. So that's how you know when you have it. For some people, I did do I did manual registration just because of where we were at in classes. So if you've got an email from me that says this is your username and password, you can obviously change your password and all of that stuff. But the other thing that should have been in that email to you was a Google form to request alternate formats, and that you need to fill that out for any book that you want uploaded into Kurzweil. And once those are in there, I typically will email folks to let them know, like, hey, I've gotten this book and it's in your account now, because it does take some time depending on where I need to get the book. Sometimes it takes more time than others, depending on if I have to reach out to a specific publisher versus like using Bookshare or Access Text, which is just a network of accessible alternate formats. Does that answer the question?
It does. And just to sort of go along with that, well, I'm going to share my screen for just a moment and go back to our main website. Here we are again at the landing page for the Office of Accessibility Services. Into the chat box, I put our quick link address, which is bit.ly/SMCM and then access with a capital A. It's also in any email from ADA support. You can find where it says accessibility services in the large blue font that is linked to this page. And I just want to scroll down and show you, we have, as Megan alluded to, lots of different resources for you. Go to the page that is guidances and procedures. And if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, you will find your link to request your alternate text files. So that is always there static on the website. So you don't need to keep track of it in an email. You just have to remember where to find it on the website.
Yep.
Okay. And let's see. We had a question about the previous webinar. Yes, we are waiting for that to be captioned before we put that up onto the website. It will be available hopefully early next week as we get those captioning files prepared. And same is true for this.
Mm-hmm.
So just there's some turnaround time and then some marrying of the files that takes maybe a day, depending on how our software access goes. So please sit tight, we'll get it up, and we'll send out notices once they are there. They're going to be linked on that page, probably under the managing your accommodations resources, but we'll keep you posted as to where to find that. If there's something that you have that is a burning question about anything related to fall accommodations, you can always just email us or request to do a one-on-one Zoom meeting with us. Our schedules are filled, but flexible.
Bananas, but flexible.
Yeah. I mean, we will figure out ways to find times to chat with you. So don't hesitate to reach out if you're not sure where to go next. And then the other piece, Megan, with Kurzweil that I wanted to ask about for students who might be working with spottier internet your advice would definitely be to go ahead and try to get the download done when your internet is more stable so that you can work with Kurzweil offline.
Yeah, for sure. It is a pretty beefy file. So like even when I'm on campus, like, cause I used to, when I would do these one-on-one, I would have folks download the software in my office, and I stopped doing that because it takes like 30 minutes. So even with good internet, it takes quite a bit of time. Like I will say that once you have that though, and you do access it with some internet, it's a pretty reliable feature. Like I know we've had students in the past that were on sports teams that didn't have internet access that would use that software when they were traveling, like on the bus, to go to a game or whatever. They would use that offline version. So I know that it works, but it does take, I think you need to log in with internet at least once a month, if I'm remembering correctly. So it remembers your, like your username and your password, and it remembers like what text you're trying to access. So if you have a very new text that you just got and you're trying to access it offline, it's not going to work because you haven't used that that alternate format on yet with the software, if that makes sense.
Yep, that it does. And so I think with that, it brings us to the end of our rundown of the world with Kurzweil. Anybody has additional follow-up questions, best way to reach us right now is the ADA support@smcm.edu email address. That goes to both Megan and I automatically, and so we're there, and we'll do our best to get a response back to you and get a meeting set up if you want some one-on-one support with Kurzweil. So
Yep.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
everyone. Hope you had a great first week. Enjoy your first weekend of the semester. Bye.
Bye.